Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef Podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and as part of the Signpost Sustainability Week, I'm joined by Teagasc Farm Manager of the Kildalton suckler herd, John O'Connor in County Kilkenny, to focus on calving at 24 months, which helps reduce emissions. John, you're very welcome. The stock on display at the Teagasc stand at the Ploughing this year were from the beef herd in Kildalton College. For listeners that didn't get to the Ploughing this year, can you describe the stock on the display?
Well, we brought up the Limousin cross Frisian cow and her daughter, which should be calving next spring. And we also brought up her calf, was born this year. And what we're trying to show at the stand was, her daughter will be calving next spring, the size she was, and when she due to calve next January. And what we're doing here in the college, always doing in the college here, we calve a 2-year-old. Because some farmers are saying they don't be big enough in calving, and we're just showing you what we are doing. And the reason we brought up a calf was the calf was about 350 kilos. So it was a male calf, but if it was a female calf, it would be plenty big enough to go for AI next spring. That was the idea on the stand.
Very good. And I suppose that you mentioned it there are a number of targets to achieve over the lifetime of the heifer in order to get her to calve down at 24 months. Can you talk through weaning heifers that you are maybe on the farm at the moment, and what weights that you're targeting for them and how that they will be managed over the coming winter?
Well, we weaned all the calves here on the 28th of August. It was a bit early this year and probably early again last year. Before they were weaned, we had them creep grazing. We did get very burnt up here in the month of August, so we were creep grazing. So instead of having the cows are in very good condition. So we said we wean a bit earlier, get the best grass for the calves to keep moving. The were creep grazing. We have creep gates in front of the calves since it went out the grass in February, March. They were creep grazing in front of the cows. And then about a month before we weaned them, probably late July, we start introducing some meal. Once around about 1.5 kilos of meal around the 28th of August, we weaned them. The weaning weight for the bulls is 300 kilos and the heifers is 280. That's an average weight. That's for all the calves. The bulls behind 1.25 kilos from birth to weaning, where the heifers behind 1.15. So the heifers are well on target. Now, some of the smaller ones wouldn't be suitable for breeding, but we can talk about that later. But our target probably having around 280 to 300 kilos of weaning. That depends on the weaning date as well. Like if you're weaning later, if you're weaning, say, in October, they want to be over 320 kilos. The main aim for us with them heifers, and the main thing, and I think it's very important, calving down a 2-year-old. We want them heifers 380 kilos for AI next spring to be calving down. We want them calving down between 550 to 600 kilos. So the aim is to have them big enough for next spring for going to AI.
And in order to achieve the weights over the winter, how are they going to be managed to be targeting for breeding next spring?
Since weaning, then we weaned them that date, and their heifers are separated from the bull calves, and they're at the moment, we're out in the paddocks at the moment. The bull calves are in one paddock, the heifer calves in the front of the next paddock, and the cows are behind them cleaning up. The calves are getting the best grass. They're getting 2 kilos of meal at the moment. We keep them out. The cows will probably be housed late this week or early next week. We keep the calves out about the middle of November, and then we're bringing the calves. Once we bring them in, then we put them on ad lib, very good quality silage, first cut silage, probably 75 DMD silage. And we keep them about 1.5 kilos to 2 kilos of meal. We keep them on that there until about mid-February. When we come to, or even early February, the first stock we leave out every year in the springtime would be a bunch of cows and calves, probably the first week of February. But about the second or the third week of February, the next group of animals we leave out would be the maiden heifers, or the heifers we want to keep for breeding. Since we start doing that, we found that they're well settled down. Leave them out in mid-March is a bit late because we are starting the area in, say, about the 20th of March or 25th of March. And by leaving them out for a month earlier, let them settle down and get them back on the real good quality grass, we find that a lot of them will come in season in the first 28 days. So a lot of our heifers, we calve down here, start calving every year around the 10th of January. So a lot of them will be calving in January.
And once those heifers are brought in for the winter, what's the herd health plan for those heifers, John?
We will dose them. We'll leave them in for a couple of weeks. Then we'll dose them for worms. They wouldn't have fluke. We've killed heifers there last week. We always check the fluke count from the factories. We also done a fluke and rumen fluke check on them as well. We don't have fluke on the farm, so we'll just do them for worms. They were done. They ever get 2 shots for blackleg during the year. As calves, when they went out, they're done for a wrist valve or intranasal. We don't do them coming in. Maybe we should do them, but we don't do them, and we don't have a problem by not doing them. Then we will vaccinate them with lepto before the AI season start. That's the vaccination we do with them. We clip their backs as well when they come in, and clip their tails as well.
And do you find that's important to clip them when they come in as well?
Yeah, we just keeps them nice and clean, and just clean the tail. When they do come in, it does take a few weeks to settle down. They do get dirty, so by clipping their backs and tails, they'll be nice and clean. We put them in on slats. They get probably 1.7 square meters per animal. The recommendation endorsement for wean or lying down space is 1.5. We give them the extra lying down space.
That's great, John. And I suppose for the heifer that you mentioned that was on the stand that you described, that's in calf and due to calve down next January, when it comes to the sire selection and for that heifer in particular, what are you looking for when you're selecting sires for using on heifers to calve at 2 years of age?
There's probably 3 things we're looking for in when we're selecting sires. First thing, we want to make sure that all them heifers we keep for breeding would be 4 to 5 star heifers. So basically, they would be our top cows. So them heifers would be our top, say, 4 or 5 star index cows. Our very, very good replacement index bulls. So when we're picking out, there's 3 things we're looking at then really is. The first one is the calving difficulty. The 2 bulls we used and them heifers for next spring we're using a bull called LM 2014. It was a limousine bull. His replacement index is 180. His terminal index is 156. His calving difficulty in heifers is 6.1%. So that bull for us is ticking all the boxes. Because if that heifer have a heifer calf, we have another option keeping her daughter for a replacement heifer to go down the road. And also he has a very good terminal index. As a male calf, it still has a good potential to be a good beef animal. And the most important part there is 6.1% calving difficulty. We don't like going over 7% with calving difficulty, even a bit less for heifers if we could. But it's very important that he's 6.1. The other bull we only used him now this year gone by, and we found them quite good and very good calves down. The other bull we used an awful lot was EBY. There's a limousine bull again. And his replacement index is 113. His terminal index is 116. And his calving difficulty 7%. And we have found him a very easy calving bull. We're very happy with him. Like an average weight of a calf we find here every year would be say between 40 and 45 kilos. Them calves are coming in at 30 to 35, which is ideal for heifers calving down first time. They're not too big, and we don't have that much problems with them calving down.
And both of those sires have a very high reliability for the 7% and 6.6% that you mentioned.
Yeah, you're correct. They're very high. They're very, very high. Yeah, they're very. I think they're 98, 99%. Yeah.
And for the heifers that you described now that they're going to calve next spring, how will she be managed from once she's housed now over the winter period until she calves next spring?
I suppose looking at them outside the field at the moment, they're well on target weight for calving down. I say they're nearly. We didn't weigh them when I'm in, but some of the heifers are well over 600 kilos. I say they're averaging about 570, 580. And the biggest worry we have at the moment, they're nearly too fat coming in. So basically, we will house them in the next couple of weeks. We won't restrict them, but we won't put them on really good quality sizes either. We won't put them on the same quality sizes as the weaners. If we have sizes not as good or haylage or something not as good, we put them on that. The one thing we done and accidentally happened with us was, and do the same with the cows, in the year 2018, we had a very, very dry summer here, and we had no second cut. And we tried to source silage, and we couldn't get any silage, and we accidentally ended up buying hay. And we decided then we had the hay, what we want to do with it. And we actually start feeding the hay to the suckler cows and the calf heifers about a month before they start calving. Say they calve in the middle of January, we start feeding the hay 1st of December. And since we went that route, we have less problems calving, and it has made a massive difference to our calving difficulty. Our calf birth rate probably has come down 4 to 5 kilos, which is not a bad thing when you're calving down. They will catch up with the weights. It has made a massive difference. So them heifers, go back to answer your question, we would put them heifers in silage, not top quality silage, come early December. We will also vaccinate them for rotavirus corona, pre-calving scour, that early December, and then we start feeding them on hay. We will pick out all animals calving in January, in early December. They go on hay. Then the ones in February will go on hay at the 1st of January. So about a month before the calf, we just switch them over to hay. We don't have an issue with milk. We don't. Some people say we should be using maybe soybean. We never have an issue of not having enough of milk with the hay. So basically, it's working well for us. So we'll probably keep doing. We will keep doing it.
I suppose, John, speaking with farmers, you mentioned there the importance of the selecting the right sire and then management pre and post calving that you mentioned there. So the issue arrives of getting the heifer back in calf to calve down the following year. How do you overcome this, or is this an issue for you?
I think it's a very good question, Catherine. I think the most important thing that when the heifer is going to the BII, she wants to be minimum 380. If she's 400, 420, all the better. 4 kilos live weight going for AI, or going if you're going to put her to a bull. The problem is you go down too low in weights. It will if she has an easy enough calving, she hadn't a hard calving. If she hadn't a hard calving case, she calved on her own. There's never an issue going back in calf. But if you had a heifer that had maybe a section, or maybe had a hard calving, or she gets sick of her calving, then you will have a problem. So the main thing, to answer your question, I would say, is have them heavy enough going to AI, have them heavy enough calving down. If they're over 550 kilos calving down, you won't have an issue with them going back in calf. The big one is to have them big enough and strong enough.
And how do you manage the heifers post calving when they calve on the farm?
So basically, then when we calve early January. So we have paddock stopped. We have 2 paddocks stopped already. So basically, we do the autumn spring rotation planner. So we will leave them in. So the other thing, when she calves down, she's put into a calving pen on her own. They do get that extra attention of her calving. We leave them with the calf maybe for 2 or 3 days on her own in a pen, and then we might put into a small group of 2 or 3 more for another week. Then we leave her back in the slats with the calf, where the calf's in the layback area. But after early February, if the weather's good enough, and the last couple of years has been, we leave out about 15 or 20 cows and calves and them heifers out to grass. That grass has actually stopped now since the 5th of October, so there'll be plenty of grass there. So basically, to get the best quality silage off a calving, if they were a bit thin, we might give them a bit of meal, but really, usually they're not thin. So basically, we pull them back out and top quality silage off our calving, and then back out to grass.
That's great, John. I suppose you mentioned a lot of the benefits there for calving at 24 months, but for the Kildalton herd, what you've seen over the past number of years, what do you see as the benefits of calving at 24 months?
Well, it's the most important one is like to keep the heifer on the farm for another year. That's an expense. It's another group of livestock on the farm as well. The benefit to us is you're bringing in this. You have this heifer. She's very highly indexed heifer. She could be 5-star heifer, and she's calving down a 2-year-old, and she has the calf. And basically, you're getting that extra year out of the animal. Really, that's what you're getting. And she's making money when she's out on the farm. She has the calf, and that's basically. I think it's very important that a calf down a 2-year-old. We are doing that all the time here, and I also do on my own farm as well. Calving heifers a 2-year-old. I couldn't like we used to do. Like you were doing them to 30 months or 36 months. You're carrying the animal on the farm, and look, with the sustainable farm going down the road, we have to try to push more to people to be doing them at 24 months of age. We don't see any difference to calving at 24 months of age versus calving at 30 months or 36 months, as long as they're strong enough and big enough for AI and calving down.
Most definitely, John. And I suppose there are a number of workshops arranged around the country over the coming weeks that farmers can register, attend on calving at 24 months. And you're hosting one of those workshops in Kildalton on Friday, the 11th of November. What can farmers expect to see on the day?
We have 4 different stands on the day. On stand 1, the first question is they're going to show you the different results that was done in Grange and all over Teagasc trials, why calve at 24 months. So they're going to give you the results, what they have seen, why they calve at 24 months. And part of that stand one, then we're going to have the Kildalton Farm figures. You know what I mean? How just basically our replacement index, on heifers for first calving, or calving interval, calves per cow. So they're going to show that. So basically, stand one is going to be all about really Kildalton Farm and why should you calve at 24 months of age. Stand two on the day then is basically calf to yearlings. What do we do when a calf is born, as you have asked the question already, up to weaning stage or up to 1 year old? How do we pick out these heifers? Very simple. We would know long before when the calf is born, we know what heifers we have picked out for breeding and what heifers not for breeding, because as I said to you already, we pick out our top cows and AI them with maternal index bulls. If them cows have a calf from an AI bull, we know they're for breeding. So the only decision we have to make on them heifers then, when they're 1 year old, is if they're not big enough, we don't keep them. Or maybe if they're a trained calf with a bull calf, we don't keep them. Otherwise, if they're 380 kilos or 400 kilos, we keep them. That's basically how to stand two calf to yearling. What do we do? How do we look after them? I suppose, and what vaccination program we do, what size we're feeding them. And stand three then is probably from a 1 year old up to calving. What do we do for second grazing? The early turnout, as I said, we have found that absolutely brilliant. Turn them out early. Make sure you get good quality grass, lepto vaccination as well. Then I said, like breeding from a 380 to 420, that's the need to be that. Sometimes, and not time we had a heifer very high star rating, and she might be 340 or 350. We tried to keep her, and they are the ones who will give you the problems calving. So we have decided from now on, and the last few years, by being calving over the year, make sure they're 380 kilos plus. And then, as you asked the question already, what do we do? What do we look after them for the second winter? How do we feed them? So make sure they have good quality silage. And we don't feed meal, but if they needed meal, we would feed them, but we don't feed them. We pen them separately as well, which is very important. And we make sure they have enough of silage space and feed and lie down space. Okay, and that's stand three. And then we're just talking a bit about the calving. What do we do when they're calving? We have a calving sheet here in the suckler shed. You see it on the day. We know every heifer when she's due to calf, what she can calf to. So basically, when she's on the verge of calving, we take her out and put her in a pen on her own, and we keep an eye on her. And then we're all the equipment ready for calving. And basically, as you asked the question, the post-calving cage, what do we do after calving? What do we do with them? And the last stand then, we are lucky enough. We have Billy here in the farm. Billy does the AI on the heifers and the cows. What program we do? How do we get him back in calf? So basically, as I said to you, we leave him out in February, and then we tail paint them just before AI starting. Before AI starting, we tail paint them, and then we use a teaser bull as well. So if a heifer say she was bulling this morning, we AI her this evening. If she's AI this evening, if she's bulling this evening, we AI her the following morning. So it's morning and evening, whatever way they're bulling, that's the way we do the AI. We basically, we don't do any injections like that. We just basically do it coming natural, because I think when we leave them out that month earlier, they do come a lot more natural that way. And then I suppose at the last stand there, as a very part of what bull do you put on these heifers, which is the most important one. And there will be someone from my CBF talking at that stand.
That's great, John. I think the key part of these workshops will be actually getting to speak to the farmer one-to-one and all the other staff that's available on the day to see what's happening on the ground.
Yes, without a doubt. And in each of them stands, we're going to have animals at them stands. Them animals, we're going to show you what we're doing at them, what animals we have. So we might show one of the weaning heifer calves in one stand. We show a calf heifer, and we probably show a heifer that calved this year, our size and weight she is now. So basically, there will be animals at each stand. There's 4 stands. It's all going to be based in the yard, because we work from the suckler shed and we work from the beef skill shed as well. So it'll be mostly be indoors.
So a full circle really from weaning the whole way up to calving at 2 years of age, John.
Yeah, and we show you where we calve down on the calving pens and where the feeding area and all that. Yeah, and you see the housing. All the livestock, the animals at that stage, the weaners probably will be coming in by then, or we'll have some in for the event.
That's great, John. Farmers are really going to see heifers from once they're weaned the whole way up to once they're calved at 2 years of age. Places are limited, so farmers will need to book in, and details are available in the text of the podcast and on the Teagasc website, with a workshop in the morning and in the afternoon.
No problem, Catherine. Thank you.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to John for joining me on the show. A list of events and webinars taking place as part of the Signpost Sustainability Week are available in the podcast text. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.